Google just killed rank tracking beyond position 20. Here's what you need to know, what you should focus on instead, what's happening behind the scenes, so you are aware of what's going on and your agency doesn't feed you nonsense. So what's going on? Why is this a problem? Trackers used a parameter in the URL and num equals 100. That allowed them to scrape search results in one single page of 100. Google discontinued this, and it's only possible until 20. If the rank trackers want to go further, they need to use pagination, meaning they need to click through the pages to see position 50, 80, etc. That costs them a lot of resources. At the time of the recording, I couldn't find any statements from the big tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, Sistrix. I only received an email from Whitespark that I use for local tracking that they will discontinue the tracking beyond position 20 and only use the top 20 positions. This is really new to the SEO world, so we don't really know what to expect. My personal take is, because it will take way more resources for the tracking tools to go through all the pages, that it's not possible for do them. My personal take is that the big tools will also adapt and only show the top 20 and then only on requests go further. Why is that? Because the bigger the tools, the bigger the database. SEMrush and Ahrefs have the biggest database on keywords. If they track this for every keyword, it's exponentially more resources they need to use. That would mean for us users that the prices go up significantly. Let me show you how this parameter works in real life. I just added to the search query string. Here's the query, best SEO freelancer. And then I added and num 100. And normally what would happen, I would see 100 results here, and then I could scrape them and see, okay, I'm on position, whatever. Now I only have 3 pages here. If we remove this, we will obviously have the normal search. But again, the tracker tools would have to use pagination to go through each of those results and scrape 10 results at a time. This costs 10 times the resources that they normally would have. So what does it mean for us in the day-to-day? We should rely more heavily on Google Search Console. Most of us have been doing this anyways, but in a reporting, it's difficult. If we report, we should maybe use more Google Search Console data on reporting instead of rank tracking software. To see an overall trend, you can use the average position in the main graph. And if this is enabled, you see also the positions in the query report, in the page report, whatever metric you choose, you will see the average position there too. In the day-to-day, realistically, nothing really changes. I'm also guilty on showing overall keyword trends, how many keywords are in the SERPs, to see an overall health and trend. It's also good to see for informational keywords if they are decreasing, if pages are overall ranking, etc. But realistically, where the magic happens in SEO is on page 1 and obviously in the top 3 positions. So what really matters is if you are on page 1. Beyond that, you barely get any clicks. Page 2 are the runners up that we want to push onto page 1. But realistically, we are not working on keywords on position 45 to push them to the top 3. This is a massive gap. Even if we know the keyword is ranking on position 45, we are not doing that much about it in real life. We focus most of our efforts on position 1 to 20. Actually, when I build strategies or tactics for the next actions, I often use the filter inside SEMrush, top 10, top 20, etc. It is also important to note that those keyword trackers are not a silver bullet and have never been. I couldn't agree more with this sentence here. Keyword trackers use one specific location to get the search results. Of course, for local searches, they use string parameters to mimic the location. But for national terms, they use probably wherever their server is or where they have proxies and conduct the search from there. Meaning, if you are looking for even a national service provider in the US, you might get different results if you're in Florida compared to Texas, compared to California. This is just the nature of how Google works. Proximity, your search history, etc., plays a big role into the results you see. The good news for local businesses is that the most important searches for them, the local pack and Google Maps, are not impacted by this. If I just do a search for coffee shop New York City, we see the local pack in the top. This is a sponsored post, so ignore this. And then we see the local pack results of these 3. They will obviously always be there, and local pack is always 3. So if you're on position 4, you are out. So it's actually the same logic that we have with if you are on page 2 or page 3, you are not visible. It doesn't matter. For local pack, we never reported you are on position 7 because you are either in the local pack or you are not. And similarly, the rank tracking will still work on Google Maps. For how long, we don't know. Maybe there will be also a limitation at some point. Let's quickly understand why Google made this change. There's no official statement, but speculation that Google says they want to stop scraping and AI tools to go through this. So basically, they want to protect their own data and potentially save resources with bots and crawlers going through the results. Let's quickly address the new kid on the block, AI keyword tracking. This does not work as you think it would. I already mentioned that even national searches or local searches are very different from one another. Let's take the New York coffee shop example. If I'm Googling this from my desktop here in right now, Germany, I get different results than if you do this on mobile, if you are in Manhattan. And this depends already on which street you are. If you are on 52nd Street, you might get a different one than 49, because proximity is one of the most important ranking factors for local searches. We can only mimic at one specific pinpoint of the search. AI trackers are very similar. We can use proxies that basically start fresh and mimic multiple searches. So that's usually how they work in the backend. They conduct one research of a keyword, they type it into ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity 100 times and take an average with 100 different proxies. But also think how scalable this is. It's not. For them to build a massive database and real-time data, or as close as real-time as possible, they would have to use tremendous amount of resources. It's not feasible. And even that, AI also depends heavily on your history, on what it knows about you. If I use ChatGPT, I get a very different response than you do. If I use Claude, I use a very different response from ChatGPT, not because of different algorithm, that's obviously a factor too, but also on my history with both AI platforms. The next thing is that the search parameter is just very different in AI. It's very conversational. I give usually a prompt. I'm not just saying best coffee shop New York. I probably type in, I want a coffee shop that serves this kind of drink and maybe where I have the chance to see celebrities. You would never Google this, right? By the way, also Search Console is guilty of this too. We don't have the specific location here. It's also just an average. It's never going to be, especially if you're a local business, just your area, etc. So also Search Console is not the holy grail. I'm guilty for a lot of those things as well. I use SEMrush to give me a trend for AI overview SERP features. I report this also to my clients, but again, not as this is an absolute, just as a trend, saying, look, we are getting picked up by AI overviews. It also helps me to see which keywords trigger AI overviews that I can then optimize my content for, with potentially adding more conversational language onto the page, or use other tactics as well to create videos to address this even more. So I'm using the data as a direction to inform my tactics and strategy. And this is, I think, the most important thing. Never take those rank tracking data as absolute and see it as, okay, now we are successful and no, we are not. It's not black and white. Just see it as an overall direction. Use it to inform the next steps. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is actually what I always did. So let's not freak out about this. Let's keep focusing on the top 20 anyways. I would even say, let's focus only on keywords that drive business in this, because it doesn't matter if you rank for what is X as a definition. It's good if you show up in AI overviews, but this keyword will never get you any business. If you want to work with an SEO partner who keeps the finger on the pulse on those things and is always transparent about it, feel free to reach out and we will see how we get you more into the top 20 and from there in the top 10. Cheers.